Recording in progress.
यस कैमरा पोजीशन ठीक है। यस गुड इवनिंग स्टूडेंट्स, वेलकम। हाउ आर यू guys? So students, today we will be revising, as you know, chapter 3, that is risk assessment and internal control. So as you know, students, this chapter covers SA 315, SA 320, SA 330, and besides some general topics. So it mainly revolves around the concept of audit risk, its components, internal control, its components, and response of auditor to assessed risks. So students, as we had discussed day before yesterday, we had also touched upon the meaning of audit risk. So risk, as already I had told you, risk means probability of going something wrong. So audit risk means the probability, the risk that the auditor gives an inappropriate opinion when financial statements are materially misstated. So there are material misstatements in financial statements. Okay. So tell me, students, what is the meaning of misstatements? Yes. Anyone? Tell me what is the meaning of misstatements? What do you understand by misstatements? First, tell me the meaning, then we will do a few questions in this regard. What is the meaning of term misstatements? If you are to write the meaning of term misstatements in your paper, what you are going to write? Yes, students, drop your answers via BOS mail. Waiting for your responses. Yes, Tejaswin, you are stating difference in presentations of assertions as per reporting framework, and actually, yes, that is also correct in your own language. Yes, Tejaswin, you didn't appear for May 25 exams? You were there in earlier batch also. Yes, anybody else? What is the meaning of term misstatements? Yes, students, quick, waiting for your responses. We have to do a lot of questions. Okay, that's great, Tejaswin. So Tejaswin has cleared group 1. Congrats. Anybody who can tell meaning of the term misstatements? So misstatements means what is required, difference between what is required as per applicable financial reporting framework and what is actually presented in financial statements. So difference in amount, classification, presentation, and disclosure of items reported in financial statements and vis-a-vis the items required as per applicable financial reporting framework. So which you can in general language call as you generally call as mistake, but in auditing we do not use the term mistake. Remember this. We use the term misstatements. That is a technical word, and you have to write it in the paper as such. The word is misstatements, not mistakes. Okay. So misstatements can arise from error or fraud, both. These can be, which means that these can be intentional and these can be unintentional. If these are unintentional, we label it as errors. If these are intentional, then there is a possibility of fraud. Clear? Yes, students. Is this clear to you? And so what is audit risk? Audit risk is the risk that auditor gives inappropriate opinion when financial statements are materially misstated. So it is connected with this topic of misstatement. So when there are misstatements present in the financial statements, so there is a chance, there is a probability that the auditor might give inappropriate opinion. So always remember that this risk is always there. This risk is always there. It cannot be eliminated at all. We are talking about risk. Whether it materializes or not, that is a different question. But risk is always there. Okay, because it is dependent upon so many things. It has got three components which we shall discuss. So it can arise from any of these factors. Clear? So always remember, friends, I am again repeating it. This is a very important point, that audit risk cannot be eliminated completely. It can be reduced, but it cannot be eliminated. Remember the word eliminated. It cannot be eliminated, which means that it can't be zero. Something of it would exist in every situation, in every audit. Is that clear, students? Yes. Is that clear? So see this question on misstatements. Read this question and see how you would answer it. You are able to see it? First read it. So CDE Private Limited, it's a company, manufacturing company, made investment in some shares of blue chip companies. It has also deposited some surplus funds in fixed deposits with the bank. So the company got dividend from shares 1.80 lakh net of TDS. 20,000 TDS was deducted. Bank interest of 2.70 lakhs. This is also net of TDS, and TDS of 3 lakh, sorry, 30,000, 0.30 lakhs was deducted. And these amounts net of TDS obviously were deposited into the account of the company. During year 23-24, it has also sold some shares, resulting in net gain of 5 lakhs. So the company has shown above incomes under the head other income for consolidated amount of 9.50 lakhs. That is that is 2.70 lakhs, 1.80 lakhs, and 5 lakhs. Total is 9.50 lakhs. Okay. So the company has shown above income under the head other income for consolidated amount of 9.50 lakhs in statement of profit and loss. No other information is furnished in financial statements put up for audit. As auditor of the company, discuss whether above situation constitutes misstatements. Also state few example of misstatements. Now first you have to tell whether this constitutes misstatements or not. So how you would attempt this question? You would first first of all write the meaning of the term misstatements. Okay. And then you have to apply the meaning of misstatements to the given situation. So you just do this thing. I have already explained to you the meaning of the term misstatements. It is also in your module, and apply the meaning of the term misstatements to this situation and tell me whether it constitutes misstatements or not. If it constitutes, why? If it doesn't constitute, why? Yes, come on, guys. Yes, Krishna Shah is writing as proper disclosure of income is not made, which constitute misstatements. But you have to specify, Krishna, what proper disclosure is not made. Simply writing that proper disclosure is not made would not fetch you complete marks. Probably you are right. So if this portion gets weightage of 3 marks, probably you would get 1 mark. Yes. Yes, Tejaswin, you have written something. Yes, can you pinpoint what are misstatements in the given situation? Please, please answer on BOS mail, not in chat box, students. Yes, waiting for your responses, guys. What are misstatements in this situation? Yes, Krishna Shah. Tejaswin and all others. Yes, students, waiting for your responses. So, students, look, dividend from shares is for 1.80 lakhs and bank interest of 2.70 lakhs were credited in bank accounts of the company. So company is showing income of 4.50 lakhs on this count. in its financial statements, whereas it should have shown gross amount. It is showing only net amount which is credited in bank account of the company. So the gross amount is the income. So 3 lakhs plus 2 lakhs. These were required to be shown instead of 1.80 lakhs and 2.70 lakhs. So this is one misstatement, and there is no proper disclosure. So this is another misstatement. So you would write it this way, that company should have recorded gross amount of dividend and interest amounting to 2 lakhs and 3 lakhs. And therefore the amount recorded under other income would be rupees 10 lakhs, not rupees 9.50 lakhs. Further, there is a lack of proper disclosure because it is a company. So Schedule 3 of Companies Act is applicable. So interest income of rupees 3 lakhs is to be disclosed separately. Dividend is to be disclosed separately. Net gain on sale of investment is to be shown separately. Whereas the company is showing it consolidated figure. So part of it, what you were writing, Tejaswani, is correct, but other part is missing. Okay. And yes, and balance part of the question asks you, give few examples of misstatements. Now here you can give any examples of misstatements. Okay. So like 3-4 examples you can write, like overvaluation of inventory, like undervaluation of inventory, like fake expenses bills. Okay. So like this, charging of capital expenditure items to revenue or vice versa. So wrong calculation of depreciation. These are all examples of misstatements. Any n number of examples can be made. Yes. Is the question clear to you? Yes, is the question and answer clear to you, students? Okay, fine. And students, as you know, we are also revising concepts simultaneously. As you know that audit risk is a function of risk of material misstatements and detection risk. And this risk is again divided into two risks, that is inherent risks and control risk. And this is again divided into sampling risk and non-sampling risk. So tell me, students, I would like to ask you whether the auditor can control, whether auditor has anything to do with risk of material misstatement. To whom does this risk belong to? Or if I phrase it in different way, to whom do inherent risk and control risk belong to? Yes, right, Tejaswin. These are entities risk. Risk, always remember, students, this is a very, very important point. that risk of material misstatement consisting of two components, that is inherent risk and control risk. These are entities risks. The auditor has nothing to do with it. Control risk, you know that internal control is not working properly, as a result of which errors or frauds may occur. Inherent risk is the risk that some transactions are, some assertions are more susceptible for misstatement. Okay, like cash transactions, or like say transactions in an industry where there are a large number of business failures. So these both risks, inherent risks and control risk, and consequently risk of material misstatement, this belongs to the entity. This doesn't belong to the auditor. Whereas detection risk belongs to the auditor. It is only the detection risk which is under the control of the auditor. Yes, Ms. Mansoori, you are writing correctly. So detection risk, he has leverage. He can lower it. Okay, because it is in hands. It is in his hands, auditor's hands, to leverage the detection risk. So as you know, the detection risk again comprises of two components, sampling risk and non-sampling risk. Sampling risk simply means that sample which auditor has picked up is not representative of the population. So there is a probability, there is a possibility that some misstatements remain undetected. Similarly, non-sampling risk means the probability that auditor may apply some inappropriate procedures in a given situation. So it is only the detection risk which is in the hands of the auditor. Always remember this. And detection risk therefore belongs to the auditor. Clear? So the meaning of the term audit risk, its components. What do we mean by inherent risk, control risk, detection risk, sampling risk, non-sampling risk? We have discussed in brief. I have tried it to refresh these concepts in your minds. Okay. So see this question now. Question number 11, this. While planning the audit of Me Limited, CAM has planned nature, timing, and extent of risk assessment procedures to identify and assess risk of material misstatement. So you know that risks of material misstatements are identified and assessed by means of risk assessment procedures. So how risk should be assessed by the auditor CAM? So it is well known that assessment of risk is a matter of professional judgment, which matters are not included in audit risk. So first part I have already answered, that risk would be assessed by the auditor by performing risk assessment procedures. But what about second part? Which specific matters are not included in audit risk? Now it is there in your module. Tell me which. We already know what is the meaning of audit risk, but which matters are not included in audit risk? Yes. And students, while reading the question, read it carefully and do not skip any part which is to be answered. So sometimes within one question, 2-3 interconnected questions are asked, like in this question. Like here, there are 3 subparts. Yes, yes, guys. Which specific matters are not included in audit risk? Yes, students, please send your responses quickly. Yes, Tejaswin has answered. What about others? Any other response apart from Tejaswin? So students, you have to keep in mind, you have to remember these points for writing in the exam. If you do not remember, you won't be able to write. You can take it from me. Yes, guys, tell me. So probably some of you have not revised the chapter. Yes, Krishna Shah, Miss Mansoori. Yes, do you know the answer? Okay, if you do not know the answer, at least open your module and try to find out where it is written. So audit risk, students, matters such as, say, if the uh, audit risk materialize that reputation of the firm is damaged, there may be litigation. So all these matters, these are not included in audit risk. Audit risk is a technical term which is used in standards on auditing, and it also does not include a situation, say, where the auditor gives an opinion that financial statements are materially misstated, where in fact these are not. Means the auditor uh, gives an opposite report that financial statements are not misstated, and he says, uh, and actually they are not misstated, but he says these are misstated because such risk is insignificant. Okay, the auditor would give report that financial statements are misstated when he finds that these are in fact misstated. So these things are not included in audit risk. So you when you are going through this topic of audit risk, you would find that there is a separate heading within your module in this chapter where it is written what is not included in audit risk. Look, there is a separate para. Audit risk, what is not included at 1.4. So this you have to write to get the full marks. Yes, students, is it clear? Another question on risk of material misstatements. Read this question number 12. CA Tina, while inspecting financial statements of company, notices that gross profit ratio of company has increased from 14% in year 22-23 to 24%. So there is a huge increase, 10% increase. Considering the above, she has assessed the risk of material misstatement to be high. So tell me, when she has noticed that gross profit ratio has increased from last year, there is an abnormal jump in gross profit ratio. Okay, so she has assessed the risk of material misstatement to be high with respect to assertions relating to revenue and various direct expenses. Okay. So see, Tina wants to know few possible reasons which could have led to abnormal jump in gross ratio. So in the engagement team, the team members are discussing what could be the possibility of this abnormal jump in gross profit ratio. So to counter this, CA Tina says that therefore we should keep the detection risk in this engagement at high level. Okay. So what does the question ask from you? Question asked from you is list out a few possible reasons which could have led to abnormal jump in gross profit ratio. Do you agree with viewpoint of Tisha? Provide your answer. So first part is basically an accounting part. So possible reasons which could have led to abnormal jump in gross profit ratio, and consequently Tina's suspicion is there could be overstatement of revenues, there could be overvaluation of inventories leading to high rise in gross profit ratio, and there could be understatement of direct expenses leading to overstatement of gross profit. This is this she is this is the probability. Okay. So in such situation, when there is this risk of material misstatement is high in respect of revenue, so would the auditor keep detection risk at a low level or high level? Yes, tell me. Would the auditor keep detection risk at high level or low level? Yes, anybody? Send your answers on BA or male students. Yes, Gurmeet, you are right. Detection risk at low level. Because the chances of misstatements are quite high, therefore detection risk would be kept at low level so that uh, no misstatements in revenues or direct expenses assertions remain undetected. Therefore, view of Tisha is not proper. Yes, clear. We are talking about risk. So risk has to be, since there are chances of misstatement, therefore the auditor would have to increase his area of checking. Okay. So how he would be, when he would be increasing his area of checking, he would be selecting larger samples. So obviously he would be, it means he would be trying to keep detection risk at low level, that not, he would lower the possibility that some misstatements remain undetected. He would lower this possibility. Yes, is the answer clear to you? Yes, students, is the answer clear to you? Okay. Now see one more question. So let us do all the questions relating to risk, I think first. So these are very simple questions. See question number 23. Read this question. It is a straight answer. You have to spot which component of risk of material misstatement is described in the situation. Now there is a company, startup company, which is providing solution to problem of paddy stubble burning, catering to needs of farmers of northwestern India. Due to importance given by governments to the issue, companies have entered in market in past few years. Many of these companies have not been successful and have gone bust. Means the companies have failed. As an auditor of company, can you spot the component of risk of material misstatement? Obviously, it is inherent risk, because when the company operates in a type of industry where there are large number of business failures, so the that carries inherent risk of transactions being misstated. Okay. So see question number 24. Now again, this is a question on component of risk of material misstatement. You have to identify the component. The company has devised a control that its inventory of perishable goods, means which would be easily damaged, like say sometime goods are kept in cold storage, etc., so that these are not damaged, in a controlled environment to prevent any damages to inventory. So responsibility is fixed on 2 persons to monitor environment using sensors. Identify the component of risk of material misstatement as an auditor of the company. Yes, this is control risk. The company has instituted a control, and there is a possibility, there would always remain a possibility that the control which has been devised, which has been substituted by the company, may not work. It might not work. Yes, control risk, Gurmeet, you have also stated correctly. So these questions, 2-3 questions are also in your module. So see, Jojo Limited is planning to list in Bombay Stock Exchange next year. Okay. As an auditor of Jojo Limited, identify any one reason of increased audit risk due to listing of the company. Company is going to bring IPO next year. It is going to be listed. So in your capacity as an auditor, why do you think that there is an increased audit risk due to the listing of the company next year? Can you visualize any one reason? Yes, guys. Yes, right. That the company may be tempted to show a healthier position than what actually is. Okay, because it is going to be listed. So it may want its IPO to be a hit with the investors. Okay. Yes, Gurmeet, you are also right. So next question is also a continuing part of this question, question number 25. Now, on perusing financial statements of this company, it is observed by the auditor that current ratio has improved from 1.20 to 1.75. Sudden jump. Identify what kind of risk assessment procedures are being performed by the auditor. Has it any relation with listing of the company? Now, which kind of procedures are being performed by the auditor? He is just going through the financial statements. Now, the question asks you which kind of risk assessment procedures. He is obviously performing risk assessment procedures. Which kind of risk assessment procedures are performed? Comparison of a ratio of 1 year with another year. What kind of procedure it is? Yes, guys. Yes, analytical procedures. There is a possibility, yes, Tejaswin, you are writing correctly. There is a possibility that current assets may be overstated. So therefore, current ratio has increased. There could be misstatements in current liabilities also, due to which the ratio is increased so much. Okay. So clear, guys. So we have done enough question on audit risk and its components. So students, related to this is topic of uh, risk assessment procedures and gaining knowledge of client's business. So quickly, students, first of all, tell me what are the different types of risk assessment procedures. Then we will come to question number 2. What are the different types of risk assessment procedures which are performed by the auditor to identify and assess risk of material misstatements? By gaining knowledge of the entity and its internal control and environment. Which are different types of risk assessment procedures? Yes, students. Which are different types of risk assessment procedures? Yes, Gurmeet, you are stating observation, inspection, inquiry, analytical procedures. This is correct. Very good. And now this second question, this relates only to one part, only to inquiry. Okay. It has come once in your papers also. So the question states, much of the information obtained by the auditor's inquiry is obtained from management and those responsible for financial reporting. So obviously, the people who have made financial statements and the management, obviously, which oversees the process of financial reporting. So the auditor would be obtaining much of the information from him. However, the auditor may also obtain information or a different perspective in identifying risk of material misstatements through inquiries of others within the entity and other employees with different levels of authority. Explain the same in view of above. So how you would write answer to this question? Apart from management and persons directly connected with the preparation of financial statements, what are other sets of people within the company, within the entity, from which the auditor inquires by way of risk assessment procedures to gain an understanding of the entity and its internal control? Yes, I've now rephrased the question for you to make it easy for you to understand. Yes. Yes, anyone, you can write the headings. You can write the heading, students. Yes, Tejaswin is giving the response. Yes, only two students are giving all the responses. Tejaswin and Gurmeet. What about others? There are 13 participants still. And there may be few chaps on YouTube also. No, Gurmeet's inquiry from guard, that is slightly off the mark. Auditor is taking a broad view. So he would be making inquiries from employees, but you have to write the major categories like inquiry from the in-house legal counsel to know whether there could be material misstatements in the pending litigation matters. Inquiries directed at internal audit personnel. Okay, so that to know how the internal audit function is doing and whether they have detected any misstatements. Okay, inquiries toward marketing personnel to know about the orders position and sales position. Inquiries towards the IT people also. So these are kind of inquiries. So obviously there are 4 or 5 categories which are described in essay, relevant essay. So you have to write all this. Inquiry directed towards internal audit personnel. Inquiries of personnel involved in initiating or recording complex transactions. Inquiries directed toward in-house legal counsel. Inquiries directed towards marketing or sales personnel, which may provide information about changes in the entity's marketing strategies, sale trends, etc. Inquiries directed to the risk management function. So how the entity um, is framing its responses to the risks. Yes, purchase department could also be. Inquiry is directed towards the information system personnel. Okay, clear? So now we shall do another question. Yes, this is also related to uh, understanding the client's business. So knowledge of client's business plays an important role in developing an overall audit. So you know that you cannot conduct an effective audit without having a thorough knowledge of client's business. So in fact, without adequate knowledge, a proper audit is not possible. As per SA 315, the auditor shall obtain an understanding of the relevant industry, regulatory and other external factors, including the applicable FRF, substantiate with the help of examples. So you have to write how the auditor would obtain such information. Okay, like example of matters, the auditors may consider market and competition, whether the entity is engaged in seasonal activities or product technology relating to entity's product, relevant regulatory environment, like say if the company is say it is a telecom company, then how Ch3 is uh, regulating those companies. Okay. Similarly, if it is a banking company, then obviously regulations put forth by RBI have to be considered. So all these type of conditions have to be considered. These examples are required to be given. Okay. Now this is again one more question on risk assessment. See this question. Ch3 is auditing a company for the first time. Okay. She is auditing a company for the first time, and she has utilized a software to analyze financial data comprising amounts recorded in the financial statements of current year with preceding 2 years. So she has used a software which gives the results on comparison of current year data with last 2 years. Her objective was to evaluate the risk of material misstatement. So what was her objective? Her objective was to evaluate the risk of material misstatement, identify the type of audit procedure performed by Ch3, discuss its relevance, and also explain whether auditor can solely rely upon such procedures. Yes. Which kind of procedures are being performed? Yes. To identify and assess risk of material misstatement. So the hint is given in the question itself. So obviously she is performing risk assessment procedures. Which kind of procedures? Yes. Obviously she is performing analytical procedures as risk assessment procedures, because she has used a software which compares the data financial items of current year with the previous years. Okay. So you have to explain a little bit about analytical procedures, what they do. So analytical procedures performed as risk assessment procedures obviously help in assist in assessing the risk of material misstatements. Okay. They may help in gathering information or existence about some unusual transactions or events which could be of some relevance to the auditor. Okay. But risk assessment procedures by themselves, they are not sufficient for providing sufficient appropriate audit evidence on which auditor's opinion would be based. Obviously, he would have to see, he would have to apply tests of controls and substantive procedures. Only performing risk assessment procedures won't do, because the purpose of risk assessment procedures is only to identify and assess risk of material misstatements. So whether this misstatement is there or not, it would have to be it can be known only by performing further audit procedures like substantive procedures and tests of controls. Clear, students? Students, thereafter comes an important concept of internal control in your chapter number 3. So how many of you remember the meaning of internal control? Yes. Can you write down the meaning of internal control? Yes, yes, students. Yes, Aksvanu, you are writing controls which are applied by the management. Okay, for the sake of understanding, it is correct. But if you have to write in exam, then how you are going to write it? Do you remember the exact meaning which is described in essay 315? No, that way, Gurmeet, you are also correct. For the point of from the point of view of understanding, you both are correct. No, no. Aksvanu, no test of control and substantive procedure. These are tests designed by the auditor. There's nothing. I am asking from you the meaning of internal control as stated in essay 315. So there is a definition given in your module. It is the process designed, implemented, and maintained by management for these 4 things: achievement of entities' objectives with regard to reliability of financial reporting, effectiveness and efficiency of operation, safeguarding of assets, and compliance with applicable laws and regulations. Remember these 4 points. it may help you in answering some questions. And how does understanding internal control benefit an auditor? It helps him in identifying types of potential misstatements, determining nature, timing, and extent of further procedures. Because once he understands the internal control system, then on the basis of understanding so obtained, he would design the nature, timing, and extent of further audit procedures. If he doesn't know about the working, if he doesn't know about the controls, then how he can design which type of procedures are to be performed, and identifying factors that affect the risk of material misstatement. So obviously, understanding internal control system goes a long way to understand the factors which affect the risk of material misstatement, which may point that there is a chance that financial statements may be misstated. So internal control, students, as you know, it has got 5 components. It has got 5 components. Can you tell me the name of all these 5 components? Yes, simultaneously, besides doing questions, students, we are also revising the chapter. Yes. Can you tell me the names of all 5 components of internal control? Yes, students, come on, quickly. Just write the names of 5 components of internal control. Yes, Tejaswin, you are writing correctly. Control environment, control activities, monitoring of controls, risk assessment process. Yes, you are right. Although these are not in proper order, but first is control environment, second is entities risk assessment process, and control control activities, monitoring of controls, and third one is information systems and related business processes, probably which you have not written. So can you tell me, students, what write a one line about all these 5 components? What do you mean of these 5 components? What is the control environment? What is the meaning of control environment? Yes. What is the meaning of control environment? What do you understand by control environment? When we say the control environment of a company is satisfactory, what does it mean? Yes, guys, quickly. Yes, Tejaswin, control environment tells about the integrity of management. That is right. So how well whether management follows ethical values, how which kind of governance structure is of the company, what are the HR policies of the company, how it say compensates its employees, whether training programs are conducted, what is the level of delegation of um, authority and responsibility. So all these things come in the domain of control environment. Remember, all these things come in the area of control environment. So one thing is, say, if the control environment is satisfactory, it doesn't mean that frauds won't occur. Obviously, it is a deterrent for frauds. The possibility is reduced, but it is not a assurance. It is not a guarantee that frauds won't be there. So this is an important point which you have to remember. There is a question on this also. Let me give a minute, students. Yes. The auditor of EFG Limited, um, a company engaged in tours and travel business, needs to obtain all understanding of the company's control environment. To do this, auditor evaluates whether, number one, management has created and maintained a culture of honesty and ethical behavior, and the strengths in control environment collectively provide an appropriate foundation for other components of internal control. Now, what is included in control environment? So you have to write all these things, elements of control environment, which is there in your study material and which we have discussed right now. Now, communication and enforcement of integrity and ethical values, commitment to competence, and management's philosophy and operating style, delegation of authority and responsibility, organizational structure, human resource policies and practices. Okay, so it basically refers to the overall environment under which the operations of company are being carried out. So if it is satisfactory, if management is honest, it is communicating ethical values to employees. So it would be inferred that employees are also duly sanitized about ethics, about integrity, because they know that management is honest. So they would be also going by the rule book. They would be following all the procedures which have been provided by them to the management. Clear? So this is the meaning of control environment. And and if the management is following good HR policies, okay, the employees are being adequately compensated from time to time. Training is being given to the employees. Okay, so they would remain contented and they would put um, put effort to their work to achieve organizational objectives. Clear? Yes, students. the meaning of control environment is clear to you? Yes, guys. The meaning of control environment is clear to you? Okay. So these are students purely theory topics. So a little bit of learning is required in this case. So at least you can, if such type of question comes in the exams, so you can remember the main headings and write 2-3 lines about each heading. That would be sufficient. So there would be another question on internal control components. Yes. Read this question. Spare Parts Limited received an input from internal auditors. Now the internal auditors of Spare Parts Limited have told them that the internal controls implemented by the company appear to be reasonable, but not so strong. Okay. The internal auditors have pointed out that they are reasonable, but not very strong. That any fraudulent activity can be prevented or timely detected by such controls. Accordingly, a qualified person should head the internal control department. So CA Raj has been appointed as the internal control head of the company. His scope of work includes development of IC in various department areas of the company. On his joining, he studied the various verticals and he has identified areas which are prone to fraud. And in his meeting with management and auditors, he has assured that satisfactory control environment exists and fraud cannot happen. So the same thing which I had told you in the beginning, whether existence of a satisfactory control environment can be an absolute deterrent to fraud. If control environment of a company is good, can you say it is satisfactory? Can you say whether existence of a satisfactory control environment is an absolute deterrent to fraud? That because control environment is satisfactory, no frauds would likely happen. Yes. How you would attempt this question? Yes. Yes, anyone? How you would attempt this question? Yes, Gurmeet. How you would attempt this question? What you are going to write? Yes, Tejaswin has answered. So you would write that presence of a satisfactory control environment is not an absolute deterrent to fraud, although it is a positive factor, but frauds can still happen. Okay. However, if the reverse is true, that there are deficiencies in control environment, then it is more prone to fraud. So the control environment in itself doesn't detect and correct a material misstatement. Okay. But if the controls are satisfactory, then it gives a positive signal to the auditor about the effectiveness of control. That is only so much. Okay. Yes, Gurmeet, you are also writing correctly. There is one more question on internal control component. Okay, it would come on the way. So students, you have also learnt about the methods of evaluation of internal control in this chapter. Yes. Can you name all the four methods of evaluation of internal control? Can you write the name of all four methods of evaluation of internal control? Yes. Tejaswin, you are writing narrative records, flow chart, internal control questionnaire, and checklist. That's true. Now, what is the difference between internal control questionnaire and checklist? Because both sound similar. What is the difference between checklist and internal control questionnaire? Yes, can anybody tell? What is the difference between checklist and IC questionnaire? Because both of them are in the form of questions. What is the difference between two? Yes, come on, students. Yes, Gurmeet. Yes, Tejaswin, you are right. Checklist is filled by engagement team by the auditors, and ICQ is filled by entity personnel. So that is the difference between two. You have to take care of it in examination conditions. Sometime in case study, case scenario, a situation is given, and you are asked to identify which type of method of evaluation of internal control is being used. Okay, so you have to be very clear about the difference. No, Gurmeet, you are stating questionnaire contains questions. No, no, this is not the difference. Basically, Gurmeet, checklist and IC questionnaire both contains question. So the main point of difference is that checklist is required to be filled by the auditor staff. Okay, and IC questionnaire is given to the client, and it is required to be filled up by the entity's staff. Okay, and thereafter the auditor goes through it. Yes, Gurmeet, is it clear to you? So students, you have also gone through the concept of significant risks, which is there in your module. Okay. So first question relates to this. In the context of significant risks, so first the meaning of significant risk is explained. So then it asks, in context of significant risk, explain the factors to be considered by the auditor as to which risks are significant risks. Now, generally, which kind of risks are considered as significant risks? Which factors would be considered by the auditor The question is asking from you this. Yes. Which factors would be considered by the auditor for determining that a particular risk is a significant risk? What are the sum of the factors which are considered by auditor in this regard? Yes, students. So for significant risks, which risks are significant risks? The auditor would consider these factors, like when there is a risk of fraud, when the risk involves transactions with significant parties, when there is some complex transaction, or whether there is some change in regulatory environment or economic accounting conditions, there is some change in accounting development. Okay, when the risk involves significant transactions that are outside the normal course of business, then these risks become significant risks. So when determining whether a risk is significant or not, the auditor shall consider at least these. Apart from this also he can consider. Okay. Now this is a question on materiality. Essay through 320. Now there is a company, Calin Retail Limited, is preparing its financial statements, and auditors are tasked with determining materiality. The company has used revenue as the benchmark. However, Calin Retail has recently opened new stores and closed underperforming one, which reduced its revenues and profitability. Which factors should the auditor consider while selecting the most appropriate benchmark? Again, it is a theory question. While uh, while determining materiality, which factors are considered by the auditor while selecting the most appropriate benchmark for materiality? Like benchmark, you already know, like the auditor may consider materiality as a percentage of revenue, as a percentage of profit before tax, or some another benchmark. But which factors? Now the question is asking from you, which factors are considered by the auditor while selecting the most appropriate benchmark for materiality? Yes, again a theory question which you have to remember. Yes, anyone? We are getting responses only from two students, Gurmeet and Tejaswin. Probably others have not revised the chapter. So obviously, which elements he would consider? He would consider the elements with which financial statements are uh, are formed, like assets, liability, equity, revenue. Okay, or if there is, if the auditor feels that some item needs special focus on for users of the financial statements, then also that can be considered. Okay, the relative volatility of benchmark has also to be considered. It is also a factor. If there are ups and downs, it is very volatile, so then it may not be appropriate to choose it. Okay. We'll see another question on materiality. Yes. Now read this question. Read this question. So when an auditor determines the materiality, then obviously it is influenced by needs of users of financial statements. So the auditor makes certain assumptions about users of financial statements. So what are those assumptions in respect of users which auditor makes? These are discussed in essay 320. Yes, do you remember these assumptions which the auditor makes about users of financial statements while determining materiality? Yes, Tejaswin, again, quick answer. Yes, you are correctly writing. So obviously the auditor assumes that at least the users know about what the company is doing. They have knowledge about the business and economic activities of the company, and they have a willingness to study the financial information, the balance sheet, the financial statements with reasonable care, with reasonable skill, with reasonable diligence. Okay. So because unless you know about the activities of a company, about the business of a company, then how you are going to read its financial statements? You can't make anything out of it. So that is the basic one assumption he makes. Second assumption he makes is that he thinks that users understand that financial statements are prepared, presented, and audited to the levels of materiality. That users know this concept, that auditor is going to find out only material misstatements and would be forming opinion. So this much users know. This is assumed. Okay. Number three, recognize that obviously some measurements are based upon estimates and judgments. some provisions are made, some estimates are made, some factors are considered which may relate to future events. Okay. And users, lastly, he considers that users make economic decisions on the basis of information in financial statements. So these four things he assumes about users. So these are also important, students. So always see before answering the question what the question is asking from you. Now in this question, it is being asked what the auditor thinks about users of financial statement, which assumption he is making about users. So he is making assumption that users know that financial statements are prepared, presented, and audited to the extent of materiality. That they know about the business and economic activities of the company, and they are reading the financial statements with due diligence. So such kind of assumptions are are presumed by the auditor in respect of users of financial statements. Yes, guys, is it clear? Yes, students, is it clear? Yes, please drop a mail. Is it clear? Is the question clear to you? Yes. So then, students, we shall be taking a short break, and then we'll join again. Short break of 7-10 minutes. Yes, Manish. Welcome back, students. So, students, you have also read about automated environment in this chapter. So tell me, what do you mean by automated environment first? Yes. What is automated environment? Yes, guys, have you joined? What do you mean by automated environment? Yes, anyone? Gurmeet, Tejaswin. These are the only two people answering. Waiting for your mails. What do we mean by automated environment? Yes, automated environment. When you say that an entity is operating in an automated environment, it basically means that all the business processes and functions are system driven from right from the um, start till the end. Okay. So all the functions are system driven, automated, and there is less manual involvement, manual intervention. Okay. So tell me, when a business is automated, then whether it is a complex business environment or simplified business environment. Yes. If we say the business is automated, whether it is a complex business environment or simplified, it is definitely a complex business environment, because with automation, lot of things kick in. Okay. And although there are many advantages with automation, like faster processing, handling of large number of transactions, but there are also many kind of IT risks involved with it. Like there may be backend changes. There could be risk of inaccurate processing. If there is a mistake, if there is an error, then it may be across applications. The whole lot of business would be affected. Okay. So in this context, you have studied about the controls in automated environment. So here in this table, four types of controls are given: access security, sequence number check, data center and network operations, and mandatory data fields. So you have to write the type of automated control. Yes. Can you tell? Yes, guys, fairly simple. Suppose this type of question comes. So there are four things and you have to write four names. You would get 4 marks. Yes. So basically, there are three types of controls: general IT controls, application controls, and IT dependent controls. Now, general IT controls are those controls which can be applied across applications, and application controls are generally related to the working of one application, like validation checks. Okay. So first type of control, access security control, and data center network operations. These are examples of general IT controls. Whereas sequence number checks and mandatory data fields, these are examples of application controls. Okay. Because say in data center and network operations, it affects the um, whole uh, whole system from where data is controlled. Okay. So this is across applications. So it is an example of general IT control. Okay. Now see this question. This is also about internal controls, about the components of internal control. Read this question, students. CA Amit is auditor of LMN Limited. While conducting the audit, he wanted to analyze the different components of internal controls of the company. So he is conducting audit of the company. He has understanding the internal control of the company, and he has analyzed about different components of the internal control, 5 components of internal control, which we have discussed just before. Again, I am repeating names of those 5 components: control environment, entities, risk assessment procedures, information systems, business processes, and third is the fourth is control activities, fifth is monitoring of controls. So identify and explain which component of internal control he is trying to understand in the following 2 cases. Now these 2 situations are given. You have to identify the component of internal control. So in first situation, it is stated whether controls in LML Limited are operating as intended and they are modified as appropriate for change in conditions. Now, which component of internal control he is studying? And second is whether there exists proper segregation of duties in the company and person responsible for recording a transaction is different from the person authorizing it. Yes. So first component of control is monitoring of controls. So here, as the system is functioning, the company is seeing what modifications are needed, whether the controls are operating as these were desired, in accordance with the purpose for which these were designed. Okay, so the it means that the company is performing monitoring of controls, that it has not only instituted controls, it has not only designed controls, but it is also monitoring the control systems, the control process, to see that they work, they operate effectively as these were intended. So this falls in the meaning of monitoring of controls. And second is whether there exists proper segregation of duties in the company, and the person responsible for recording a transaction is different from the person authorizing it. So segregation of duties, by its very meaning, it falls within the control activities, where the function of one is one person performs one function and the another person checks it. There is segregation of duties. Okay, so that no person can override the system. So it is part of control activities itself. Clear? So this is what is written here. Now, this is another question on digital audit. Now, what is digital audit? You have to write here the benefits of digital audit. One para is small is given in your module, benefits of digital audit. So what you would be learning more about this in your CA finals. There is a complete chapter on this, on digital audit in CA final. So for the time being here at the intermediate level, you have to understand only what the digital audit is and what are its benefits. Yes. Yes, students, can anybody tell what is the meaning of digital audit and what are its intended benefits? This is the only much you have to understand at CA inter level. Students, you have to understand, like the companies, the businesses nowadays are also shifting to the digital mode. Everything is happening digitally. It is system driven. The companies are automating their whole processes, right from procurement till and rather some parts of decision making are also being automated. So in these circumstances, the auditor is also making use of digital technologies to conduct his audit, like for understanding, for identifying and assessing risks, for making samples. So different type of tools are used by the auditor. So this obviously improves not only the efficiency of auditor, helps him to gain a better insight into the company, saves his time, and might give better results. Okay. So again, similar question, students. Question number 27. We have just now done it. Now tell me, apart from Tejaswin, who will answer it? Question number 27. Yes, Gurmeet, come on. You should answer it. We have just done it right now. Yes, Gurmeet, I want you to answer this question. Question 27. During the audit of a company, CS Smriti is keen to find out whether there exists a proper system of segregation of duties in the company. We were just discussing it. She wants to be sure that person responsible for recording a transaction is different from authorizing it. Discuss what she is trying to do and how its understanding is significant to her as an auditor. Yes. Yes, anyone? Now, the auditor is just trying to verify whether there exists a proper system of segregation of duties. So, therefore, she is studying about the internal control system of the company. Now, within the internal control, she is again studying component of control activities. We have just learned that segregation of duty is a part of the component of control activities. And obviously it is helping her because if the system is operating well, she knows that control is operating effectively and is capable of preventing misstatements. Yes, Gurmeet, is it clear to you? If you are still logged in, yes. Now see question number 28. A CA during course of audit of a company finds that cash is not deposited in bank frequently, although concerned staff of company was required to do so. Further, the official responsible for ensuring performance of above function has also not paid any attention to it. Discuss what does it represent from auditor's perspective. Yes. So the company has instituted a control that cash is required to be deposited into bank frequently at stipulated intervals. Okay. But the concerned staff whose duty was it to deposit, he or she is not getting it deposited, and the supervisor there, he has also closed his eyes to this. Yes. What does this denote from auditor's perspective? Yes, it is control deficiency. It is a control deficiency. It means that control is not working as planned, and therefore it represents control deficiency, and obviously it is a control risk. And students, which procedures the auditor can perform while performing tests of controls? While performing tests of controls, which procedures can be used by the auditor? Now, Tejaswin, control deficiency, basically, control deficiency is a flaw which in fact is already there. So obviously it is leading to control risk. Yes. Inquiry, inspection, reperformance, these are all procedures, audit procedures which can be used by the auditor while performing tests of controls. Now see this question also. Companies are increasingly using data analytics for managing their operations. Auditors can also obtain good results by using data analytics. What are the tools and techniques used by auditor in applying principle of data analytics? And in which areas data analytics can be used by auditors? Again, from the topic of automated environment. So what is data analytics, students? What is data analytics? Simple as the name suggests, analysis of data for obtaining meaningful results. So auditors are using computer assisted auditing techniques, CATs. Computer assisted auditing techniques. Which apply the principle of data analytics, and these provide better results. And these can be used in many areas, right from the picking of samples to identifying risks. Okay, making calculations, making computations, evaluating impact of control deficiencies, checking completeness of data. So these can be used in many areas. So you have to write this. So from the topic of data analytics and digital audit, very short reference is there in your module. So only these two questions can be made, which we have discussed. One is meaning of digital audit and benefit of digital audit, and second is uh, uh, use of data analytics, in which areas data analytics is being used by auditors. Okay. Now see this question. Question number 14. During the audit of Apex Limited, the auditor plans to place reliance on the internal controls related to the revenue recognition process. It means how revenue is recognized, how it is being measured, which appear well designed based on preliminary assessment. So at the outset, the auditor feels that there exist proper internal controls relating to revenue recognition. So revenue recognition, you already know, is material. The revenue is a material item. So however, due to materiality of revenue and inherent risk of overstatement, the auditor concludes that the more persuasive audit evidence is needed to evaluate the effectiveness of controls. Discuss the matters the auditor may consider in determining the extent of tests of controls. So although the auditor is satisfied that controls exist for revenue recognition, for their proper measurement, but still because of the risk involved in revenue recognition, he thinks that more persuasive audit evidence, more comforting audit evidence is required to evaluate effectiveness of internal controls. Okay, so which matters the auditor may consider in this regard? Yes, can anybody answer? It is again a purely theory question. You have to write down factors. So students, in such type of questions, many times you, under examination conditions, you may not remember the complete points. So if you are attempting such type of question, then try to think what the question is asking from you, and you can make, if you have gone through the concept clearly, you can make your own points, and you would find that the points which are written in your module are same as you have made. So the factors are like frequency of performance of control by entity. Okay, so a control has been instituted, at what time period that control has been performance of it has been verified by the entity. The length of the time during the audit period that the auditor is relying on the operating effectiveness of control. Okay, what is the time duration during which the auditor is relying on the operating effectiveness of control, and the possibility, the expected rate of deviation from a control. What is the expected rate of deviation from the control? That is also a factor to be considered for relying. Okay, which could change auditors viewpoint. And the relevance and reliability of audit evidence to be obtained regarding operating effectiveness of control at assertion level. So these are the factors when more persuasive audit evidence is required to be obtained for reliance and controls, which are to be considered by the auditors. Okay. And again, this question is on component of internal controls. Question number 13. Now, I had told you at the beginning that there are 5 components of internal control, and second component of internal control is entity's risk assessment process. entities risk assessment process. Now, this question is on entities risk assessment process. So always remember, students, that a company, an entity, it also assesses its own business risks. Forget about audit risks. The entity is also assessing its own business risks. What would be its response? What strategy it would employ? Okay. This risk assessment process by the company, by the management, by the entity itself is part of the internal control system, because this is how the companies, the entities are dealing with the risks, and these are a well designed risk assessment process is an entrenched part of the internal control system, is an established part of the internal control system. Okay, so read this question number 13. While conducting the audit of Zena Limited, CAE is trying to obtain understanding of different components of internal controls of a company. Such an understanding is necessary and is required to be documented in accordance with the standards on auditing. You have to just go through your module and see in SA 315, there are documentation requirements where auditors' understanding regarding each component of internal control have also to be documented. Remember this. This is a hidden point. In this context, how he shall obtain understanding of the risk assessment process of the company, and how is this understanding important to the auditor? Now there are two parts. One part is how he is going to obtain the risk understanding of the company's risk assessment process, and how this understanding is beneficial to him as an auditor. Now, yes, how you would attempt this? It is there in your module. Yes, guys. Yes, anyone. How the auditor would obtain understanding of the risk assessment process being followed by the entity, and how its understanding is beneficial to him as an auditor. Yes, anyone, any student? Yes, Tejaswin, since you are answering all the questions, I am asking from you. Yes, Tejaswin, are you still logged in? So the following steps shall be considered by the auditor while and while understanding that the entity has a process of risk assessment. So it is so simple. So first of all, he would identify business risks which are relevant to financial reporting objectives, that whether the entity considers business risks. So if there are business risks, there is a risk assessment process. Such business risks would be documented. So the entity would be again estimating significance of these risks, whether these are significant, what is their importance from business point of view, assessing the likelihood of their occurrence, and there would be system of assessing their possible occurrence. And if suppose those risks materialize, then what action would be taken by the company in respect of those materialized risks. Okay. So say the company has considered that a new competitor has come in. So what is the probability of company losing its market share to new competitor? And if that happens, what are the counter strategies of the company to maintain its top line? Yes. Is this clear? And why we are studying it? You would say, why we are studying it? It is part of company's job. Okay. But it is part of the internal control system devised by the company. If the company has a well functioning risk assessment process, then auditor can be sure, the auditor can be comfortable that there would be lesser chances of risk of material misstatements. Okay. So that is why it is beneficial for the auditor. That is why it is helpful for the auditor. And see question number 8, students. Read this. KR and Associates observed that the company has implemented various internal controls. So internal controls, we already know these deal with 4 things. Achievement of organizational objectives regarding reliability of financial reporting, effectiveness and efficiency of operations, safeguarding of assets, and compliance with regulations. Okay, so CA Karan suggests that all controls should be assessed to mitigate the risk of material misstatements in financial statements. While CA Rajat is of the view that only those controls deemed relevant to the audit should be assessed. So whose view is correct? Whether all the controls are relevant to the auditor, whether CA Karan's viewpoint is correct or whether CA Rajat's viewpoint is correct. And lastly, the question asks also discuss the factors influencing the auditor's judgment on relevance of controls. Yes, how you are going to answer it? Anyone? Yes, students, any student, just write 1-2 lines about it. is Rajat's point of view correct? First of all, tell me, or Karan's point of view correct? Yes. So obviously, students, the controls which are relevant for the audit, the auditor is concerned about these controls. He is not concerned about those controls which are not relevant for the audit. So the factors which decide whether whether a particular control is relevant for audit or it is not relevant for audit, there are many factors like materiality, like significance of the related risk, what is the size of the entity, whether it is a large entity or a small entity, what kind of business the entity is in, what are the regulatory requirements, what are the applicable legal requirements. So all these type of factors help in determining whether a particular control or particular set of controls are relevant for audit or not. Now see another question. SA 330 states that auditor shall design and perform tests of control to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to operating of effectiveness of relevant controls. Briefly discuss when such tests are to be designed and performed in accordance with SA 330. And if auditor intends to place greater reliance on effectiveness of control, what would be its impact on the audit evidence obtained? So obviously SA 330 states that when the reliance is to be placed on tests of controls in the following two situations, when there is an expectation at the assertion level that controls are operating effectively and the auditor intends to rely on the operating effectiveness of controls. He doesn't solely rely on other procedures, and substantive procedures cannot provide sufficient appropriate audit evidence at the assertion level. So in such conditions, in either of these conditions, the auditor shall design and perform tests of controls to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence as to the operating effectiveness of controls. Yes, Manish, you can switch on the Zoom interaction. You can unmute. Yes, any query from students regarding questions, how these are to be answered? Any query regarding preparation? Yes, guys, or any query regarding chapter 3? Yes, students, you are unmuted. If you have any query, please do ask. Here is an opportunity for you to clear your doubts. Yes, guys. Do you have any query or should we take one more question? So again, students, like this question, question number 4, again, similar type of question we have done just now. So slightly language is different. So when more persuasive audit evidence is needed regarding effectiveness of control, it may be appropriate to increase the extent of testing of control as well as degree of reliance on controls. Discuss the matters that the auditors may consider in determining the extent of test of controls. So when the auditor needs more persuasive evidence regarding effectiveness of controls, then which factors he would consider? Like we have discussed just now, like frequency of performance of control, at which intervals it was performed, the expected rate of deviation from a control, what is the chance, what is the expectation that there would be a deviation from the control. Okay, the length and time during the audit period that the auditor is relying upon the effectiveness of a particular control. So the which period the auditor is during the audit period, the auditor is relying upon the operating effectiveness of control. So all these factors have to be considered. So this question, similar question, which was phrased in slightly different language, has also come, but answer to both of the questions is virtually the same. Okay. So yes, students, we have almost done the whole lot of questions. Yes, any student, again, I am asking if there is a query, you are welcome to ask regarding your style of preparation, regarding practical problems in answering the questions or relating to this chapter. You are all are unmuted and you can use this time to ask from me. Even you can ask in Hindi.
Sir, my question here is not related to subject, related to the assignment notes that was downloaded under note and assignment sections. However,
Yes.
I could not find the solution for those questions. Only the questions are listed there.
Of which chapter?
The chapter 1 and chapter 2, which you have discussed in earlier sessions, only the questions are listed under notes and assignment.
Okay.
Will
No,
get the
yes.
you will get the answers in a couple of days.
Yes. I think Ankita ma'am is there.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Ashish sir, for this wonderful
Okay.
lecture. And
Okay.
students, today we have covered chapter number 3. The weightage of this chapter is 8% to 12%. This chapter is mostly about essay 315 and essay 330. Other than that, audit risk, risk of material misstatement, inherent risk, detection risk, and many more. So both type of questions are being asked from this chapter in exams, MCQ and descriptive types of questions. So we will discuss that how to answer descriptive type of question, because in MCQ answers you do not have to give any reasons, you just have to select the correct answer. In descriptive types of questions, there are two types of questions. One is the application based question, in which you will be given some situation, and based on that situation you have to give your answers. So the the lineup of your answers will be, first of all, you have to write the provisions. Okay, by reading the question, you will get to know that which kind of provision apply in this question. After that, write facts of the case. Okay, then in the third paragraph, you have to link the provision with the facts of the case. And in the last, you have to give the conclusion that the whether the contention of the auditor or whatever the requirement of the question is, you have to give the conclusion. Okay, this is for the question which are situation based question. And second is that sometimes the questions are knowledge based, like straightforward question. You do not have to you will not be given any kind of situation. In that case, you have to write your answer in pointers. Okay, what some of the students what they do is they divide 1 point into 4 points. For example, the question is of 4 marks, so what they do is they divide 1 point into 4 points. Okay, so you will be given only 1 mark for that. So do not focus on the quantity of the content, focus on the quality. Do not just divide the parts and make it 4 points. Okay, write 4 points which are given in your study material. And if you are having any doubt, any kind of doubt regarding the subject or regarding this chapter, you can ask now, or you can ask your doubts through the Ask My Query feature in the BOS mobile app. Okay.
And
If
as
any
ma'am
doubt,
has told that answers would also be uploaded.
yes,
So
answers will be uploaded.
yes. Is your query resolved? The person who has asked, the student who has asked, is your query resolved?
Yes, yes, sir, I got.
Okay. Anybody else who wants to ask something from me or from Ankita ma'am? Anybody else who wants to ask something, or should we wind up the session?
Okay. So thank you everyone. The next class is scheduled on Thursday. The timings will be same. We will be covering chapter number 4 in that session. So, and thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Yes, yes, done. Okay.